Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's vlog post. We knew this week was going to be a crazy week when it came to economic data. Yesterday, pretty much as expected, Federal Reserve raised short-term rates by 75 basis points. It was leaked last week that it was going to be 75 basis points. I personally was hoping that the Fed would go 100 and really put their stamp on this to really solidify the bond market. But 75 basis points was the determination, and the mortgage bond market responded favorably by closing to the upside by 47 basis points. And we've talked about this over and over and over again about the Fed controlling monetary policy and dealing with the short-term end of the market, and how mortgage bonds are a long-term end of the market, and how their big fear is inflation. And when the Fed steps up and does things to try to get a grip on inflation, the bond market generally responds well. And we've talked about you having this information and you being able to go to charts and graphs and show people historically how this happens, explain the why behind it, because you're going to have those phone calls from clients and referral partners. Some of you probably already yesterday afternoon and first thing this morning, yelling and screaming and carrying on how the Fed raised mortgage rates and, are they locked in, what have you. So really important for us to get on top of the information. Like I've said before, it's part of your job to be paying attention to these things. And for those of you who are ahead of the curve, you're keeping your clients and your referral partners informed and educated in a way so that they're not, really stressing and going crazy over things that really don't impact them, or at least won't impact them in a negative way. So there's that. And there's also, language in their commentation by the comments by Jerome Powell that they're looking to continue, but at a slower pace, which generally signals we're probably going to see 50 and 25 basis point increases going into the future. And a lot of that's going to happen to the second half of the story, which are the economic data that comes out today and tomorrow. Today, probably the big news is going to not be unemployment, as it usually is every Thursday. But the big news is probably going to be the first look at the GDP report for the second quarter. We've talked about this coming. We know the first quarter was in the negative. We know, historically speaking, that 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth represents a recession. It's not officially a thing, but the reality of it is every time there has been 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, it's been deemed to be a recession. And we may have to hear the R word. Many people are already feeling like we're in a recession. The reality of it is whether technically it is or it isn't, it doesn't much matter. The average consumer believes that it is, and that goes a long way. Now, if the Atlanta Fed report is accurate, then we're going to see negative growth in the second quarter. Is it guaranteed? No, it's not guaranteed. The number doesn't come out. When the number comes out, the number will come out. Dancing around whether we use the R word or not is kind of fruitless. The reality of it is the economy is not doing as well as it could be doing. There are a lot of factors behind that. This is just the first look. The economy runs where they give you the preview, which is going to be today, and then there'll be a second look and a third look down the road. And it could be right away. It could be years from now that economists will look back and deem this period of time to have been a recession. But the point is we all know what we feel with this inflation running rampant, and it not abating as fast as people would like. And I think whether we are officially in a recession or not, whether inflation is the number one factor in this country or not, the reality of it is we're feeling it. the Fed is trying to get on top of it. And unfortunately, there was some bad news yesterday. Again, nothing set in stone, but it appears that West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin has reached an agreement with New York Senator Chuck Schumer to pass the Build Back Better bill, or I like to call it the Build Back Broke bill, a bill that literally will raise taxes and increase government spending by hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that the government doesn't have, which means it's going to have to borrow money, which is largely the cause of all the inflation that we're seeing, is the spending of money that we don't have and borrowing money that we're going out and spending. And this appears to be a deal that largely focuses around, again, hundreds of billions of dollars being spent on green initiatives and things for what they affectionately call climate change solutions and other items. So, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. You know, we're largely in this problem. It traces back to the fact that we've spent trillions of dollars that we had to go out and borrow. A large portion of that money still in the pipeline. It's been borrowed, it's sitting in bank accounts. It has not been distributed. The money that has been distributed has been spent, which has caused a lot of the supply chain and inflationary issues. It's just amazing that anybody'd have the audacity, with inflation where it's at, the economy where it's at, and decide that they were going to go out and spend hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars that they don't have, that they're going to have to borrow to make the situation even worse. It's just beyond me. Going into you don't alleviate inflation by printing up and spending more money. That's not what happens. The whole idea of raising short-term interest rates is to slow the pace of borrowing. But yet, here we go. You don't improve the economy by raising hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes. It's not, Economics 101 tells you that none of this is going to be beneficial. I'm hoping, upon hope, that either Senator Manchin changes his mind, or there is another senator in the government who will put country above party and stop the insanity of printing and spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in new spending, as well as increasing hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes on an already struggling economy. So let's see where the numbers are coming today, tomorrow, more economic data, all stuff that's out there that's going to be important. Again, this agreement with Senator Manchin and Chuck Schumer may obliterate all the good that may have happened with the Fed raising short-term rates. Don't know how the bond market's going to respond to not only that information, but the GDP numbers, as well as, again, more economic news tomorrow. So let's just do what we've been doing. If you like it, lock it. If the payment works, make sure that you're there, because, at first I was fairly happy with the news yesterday as the day went on, and we discovered that, the information about passing a bill with more taxes and more spending kind of pulled the wind out of my sails. I just can't believe, and maybe I should. I'm old enough now that maybe I should believe that politicians are just that stupid, that they are just that greedy, that they are just that so self-inflated that they think it's okay. And it is what it is. I'm one man with one vote and one commentary. And I am praying that all this work and all this pain and suffering this country is going through is not exacerbated by, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in new taxes and new spending, which is only going to make the average American that much worse off. As always, questions and comments, Mike at imtcoaching.com. We'll talk to you again next week. Take care.